chat to everyone.
Okay, super. Thank you, Nicole. All right. Well, now we can get started. Good afternoon. Welcome to the November webinar in our 2024 webinar series for the New York Association on Independent Living, or NYAIL, NYAIL. I'm Blaise Bryant, the communication specialist for the association who plans all these webinars and puts them together. A few quick housekeeping things before I turn things over to our presenter. Number one, the webinar will be recorded. Well, it is being recorded, and you will have the slides either later today or tomorrow for sure. So I'll make sure to send those out. There will also be a webinar feedback survey, which helps me plan out the webinar. So any ideas you have and feedback, let me know, because that's how we do collaboration here. The chat is disabled for attendees. This is a screen reader accommodation. So if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box, and both Connor and or myself will moderate those as well. And Connor, if you're, it's entirely up to you whether you want to take questions as we go along, or if you want to get everything in that you'd like for your presentation and then take questions. Entirely up to you. And the last thing, and this is new, we are looking for sponsors to help offset the cost of ASL and captioning for our 2025 webinar series. So if you want more info on that, I will put my email in the chat so you can reach out. And I will, uh, again, I'll put that little blurb in my follow-up email. So I think that is everything. Took a little bit. So I'm going to turn things over now to Connor McGough, who is our presenter for today. He is the program coordinator for the Adaptive Design Program through the Arise Independent Living Center in Syracuse. Connor, thank you so much for being here and being very generous with your time. I know you have a very busy schedule. The show is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you, Blaise, for having me as a speaker here today. So welcome everyone who's participating. Thanks for taking part today. So as Blaise mentioned, I'm the program coordinator for Arise Adaptive Design. I am a white male with brown hair, wearing a headset right now with a blue Adaptive Design logoed shirt on. Not that anyone can see this because I have a fancy blurred background on, but I am in a wheelchair. I use a power wheelchair because I have quadriplegia. So I also myself have a disability. But we'll get right into it. This kind of came about because I presented at the NILE conference in 2023. So any of you that may have been part of that, it's not going to be a whole lot new in this presentation, so I apologize if you're looking for new info, maybe a little bit, but it's going to be more so for those that weren't able to take part in that and want to learn about the adaptive design effort here in Syracuse and elsewhere. If you have questions, if you have an absolute burning desire where you need to find out immediately, feel free to put that in the chat. I'll try to keep an eye out. Otherwise, we'll try to take questions at the end. So I'm going to share my screen now and we'll get started. All right. And I do apologize if you hear anything in the background of my sound in the workshop here. We are a functioning workshop, so there is building going on in the other room right behind me. We never seem to slow down. All right. And Blaise or someone else, I may have you help with the questions if they pop up, because I can no longer see my chat now that I'm in presenting mode with
Not a
PowerPoint.
problem.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. So we'll just take questions at the end of the presentation. I
Great.
got you.
So just a title page. This is the adaptive design approach. And I am Connor McGough, as we had mentioned. So a couple of quotes to just start off that I like and we commonly throw around here in the workshop. First being, it's not that a person simply isn't capable of a task. It's just that they haven't been given the right tool yet. It's something we firmly believe here and try to overcome on a daily basis. The other is adaptation is a link between can't and can. And that was from Alex Truesdell, who you'll learn about if you don't know of her a little later on in this, who is the one that got us up and running with the work we do here. So this will be a little boring. I'm just going to go through our mission statement and our vision just to get that kind of plugged away here first before we get into more of the fun stuff. And I promise I just won't be reading through slides, but this I think makes the most sense just to read through. So Arise Adaptive Design is a grassroots co-creation community designing and building low-cost tools for inclusion, access, and opportunity. So our vision is that everyone, no matter their financial situation, should have access to equipment that will allow them to reach their greatest potential. To achieve this effort, Arise Adaptive Design serves as a community resource where people of all abilities, backgrounds, and beliefs can come together to work side by side, building and learning together in a collective effort to provide equity and opportunity for and along with their fellow neighbors. So what is adaptive design? Well, what it is it's using simple materials to create really highly customized equipment for individuals with disabilities. On the screen here, I have a picture of a woman holding up a cardboard little wedge for a very small child in a much bigger power wheelchair they're sitting in to allow his feet to more better rest on a surface below him because his feet do not reach the base of that wheelchair where the foot pedals are. So adaptive design solutions, the key things we're trying to focus on whenever we're building equipment is that we keep it low cost, keeping it flexible, meaning as we go through the building process, we want to make sure we can kind of ebb and flow as needs arise or things change, or just simply as we work through the kinks of building a piece of adaptive equipment. So we want to use materials and techniques that allow us that flexibility and taking away, adding more kind of on the fly. That it's quick to create. So we want to make sure, people aren't waiting forever for this equipment. And sometimes it varies depending on what the need is and what the request is. It can be something very simple, like a little jar opener or splint that we can knock out of the park in a day or two. Other things are much more technical, and you'll see some of those examples as we go through. That may take, a few months, but in all consideration of what the alternative might be, it's much quicker. And then the design process, a key point here, the design process itself self-directed by the end user. So we want that person that's coming to us with an adaptive device need really helping guide us through their design to make sure it feels, functions exactly as they would like it, that'll best serve them. And on the picture here, we also have a child, a young girl that's leaning up onto a adapted, this is a prone stander that allows the child to be upright in a standing position with some extra supports so they can stand independently when they may not be able to under their own control. So this device is painted with butterflies and blue sky and grass below and a rainbow. It's very fun and cheery. And the child's got a big grin on her face in her home. So who's involved in this process? So initially, when we first got started, this was a volunteer effort. Right now, we have 2 hired staff. Of course, we are part of a larger organization being Arise. which has many different programs and services as an independent living center here in Syracuse, in central New York. But our program itself, the only hired staff is myself as the program coordinator, and then we now luckily have a full-time fabricator. We also rely heavily on volunteers. So this is a very grassroots effort, as I mentioned before. We have tons of volunteers that come in usually twice a week. So on Monday evenings and Thursday evenings from 4 till 7 p.m., we host community build events. So this allows those individuals to come and work with us in the workshop along with the families. So those volunteers are a real cross-disciplinary team. So we have clinicians and therapists, OTs, occupational therapists, excuse me, and physical therapists. We have designers, engineers, architects, people with that high level knowledge in building and manufacturing. We have just general hobbyists and makers that want to put their interests and skills to use to help others. Then we have quite a vast amount of student volunteers that are continually coming in. And that's, again, a very cross-disciplinary approach where we have med students, we have physical therapy students, occupational therapy students, design students, art students. It really runs a gambit. A lot of students interested in STEM, which is a huge focus in schools right now as well. And then just general others in the community that may be retired or have some extra time and they just want to help others. And so they come in and we'll teach them the skills they need to build along with us in the workshop here. And then the key person who's involved or part of the team process is the individual who's seeking that specific piece of equipment. And that's not just that one individual who needs the device, it's their whole network. So we encourage their family to come in with them if they'd like. A lot of times we're working with kids. As we go through this, you'll see there's a lot of things pediatric wise for reasons I'll explain later. But we want it to be a bit of a family affair. So we have their siblings, their parents come in along with their clinicians, especially too, if we can get their physical therapist, occupational therapist, or speech language pathologist in the mix with us here. They really know them best and their abilities and their goals versus some volunteer physical therapists that we might have here but might not know that individual or that child initially right from the jump. So having that background knowledge coming in with the child is very helpful, or the individual, I should say. And on the picture, on the slide, we just have a group of individuals in a circle having a discussion around a small child in a custom seat. That has a big custom game tray in front of them that's green like a little soccer field and a soccer ball sitting next to it. And everyone's discussing that specific device. So our code design process, we have a bit of a Venn diagram here with 3 circles all connecting in the middle. And this is how we approach each of our projects as best we can. And this varies depending on who's available and what interests they have and what the actual project is that we're working on. So we try to get these 3 pillars to make up every project. And what's I guess these shouldn't be all the same size. It is based on importance. I will go in order of importance. I would say based on each of the projects we work on is the first one being the device user. So that person that's coming, with that need, but also has a real intimate knowledge of their abilities and can provide that feedback to us throughout the whole process. Then our disability professionals, so our doctors and our physical or occupational therapists, whether it's their own or our volunteer ones, assist us to bring in that clinical knowledge and sometimes have other connections within the community that they can assist with. And then our makers, who are our designers, engineers, and just general people who've been in here working and building with us for a long time and know the ins and outs of our fabrication techniques and have that technical knowledge that they can bring to the table for that piece of adaptive device or technology. And when we can include each of these as a team for a project, that's a real sweet spot that allows us to better meet the user's needs. It's much more functional. It's going to be probably the most cost-effective approach. And the biggest thing also, it's going to be much less likely that there's device abandonment once that person takes it home. So we really want to keep them as much involved as we can throughout the process, so we know when they take that home that thing's going to work the best it can for them, and that they know how to properly use it. So what materials and tools do we use as we go through our building and our specific type of adaptive equipment? So I'm going to leave, there's an empty space up top, and then there's just some key pieces of materials, excuse me, that are listed below it. Elmer's, hot glue, wooden dowels, things like PVC tubing, water-based primer and paint, a lot of the stuff that you would find at your just local hardware store. On hand, readily available, pretty quick to get, and stuff that's affordable. We also use some fabric, thread, cushioning, Velcro, things like that. And then when the need's there, if we have to spend a little more money and provide different materials, sometimes we'll work with wood, 3D printer, resin and filaments, solder, electronics, things like that, to achieve the adaptive device or assistive technology that we're building. But whenever we can, we were initially trained with a certain material that actually works really well. It's very low cost. It's very affordable. It's very readily available pretty much almost anywhere in the world, which is kind of a cool, unique factor about this. But that material being, and I would ask for, if anyone wants to guess, but I think everyone's muted at this point, so I'm just going to give it away. That material being cardboard. I have a picture of a stack of cardboard over on the far right of the page. We work a lot in cardboard. It's not your typical cardboard usually. We usually work with industrial strength. It's called triple ply cardboard, which is a fancy way of saying it's pretty much 3 layers of your standard Amazon box. That's a 1 layer piece of cardboard or 1 ply, and we're working with 3 times that. These things are pretty robust. I know a lot of eyebrows go up when we say we work with cardboard to build a lot of equipment. But a piece of our 8 foot by, 5 foot by 9 foot piece of cardboard that we get in our big sheets holds about 1,000 pounds with weight dispersed across it. So this stuff is pretty heavy, heavy duty. And when we orient it and build in the specific ways we were taught, it actually can hold even more. We actually have in our workshop here a full-size couch and love seat. So when families and individuals come into work, they're sitting on that. And if they ever, raise the question of, well, is this going to be sturdy enough? Well, you've been sitting on a couch for 20 minutes that's made out of this same material with just Elmer's glue, a few wooden dowels, and that cardboard. So really drives the point home that way. And we are very fortunate, I will throw this in there, that Buckeye Corrugate in the Syracuse area here, they donate all the material of cardboard, which is about $40 per big sheet we use. They donate it all and always have, as well as Westrock prior to them, until Westrock was not using that specific type of cardboard anymore in their factory here in Syracuse. The type of tools we're using, again, things that are easily available and aren't too fancy. We want to make this a technique that also when the families come in and work with us, that they might be able to take home and do the same type of building and feel empowered to do that on their own too. So we're working with hand tools when we first got started, just using utility knives, precision knives, hammers, scissors, again, those things that you find at your local hardware store, art store, straight edge rulers, cutting mats, small power tools like a jigsaw, screwdriver, electric screwdriver, drill, hand sanders, Dremels or hot glue guns. And then we've been spoiled as we've grown and had more requests made and more funding come in that we also use some specialty equipment now. We use 3D printers. A company called CAD Dimensions here in Syracuse also is very generous and will help us with design and 3D printing at no cost, and they donate that to us. But we also have a few 3D printers in-house that we can use. Soldering guns, sewing machines, again, cushioning, harnesses, fabric. We're using sewing machines for that. We only have one in-house and it kind of meets our needs at this point, so you don't need much there. Then we've gotten real spoiled and started using a CNC, which is a kind of a computer guided router that can cut out patterns for us out of these big sheets of cardboard or wood, as well as laser cutters. So we have a few universities in the area here that have this equipment as part of their maker spaces and donate that out to us to be able to use, which is we're very fortunate. And then some other larger power tools, which we have in the workshop here. Again, we're spoiled. You don't need it to start, but it speeds the process up for us. So we're able to help more people. And those are a bandsaw, belt sanders, a few of those, and drill press. What do you need to actually start doing this work and get into it yourself? You don't need all this. So I've clicked to the next slide and it just takes away those specialty items. All you really need is those basic hand tools and small power tools, maybe not even the small power tools at first to get started. You can work with really basic things like a utility knife and a steak knife and some glue and some cardboard. And we started out when we first got started with just a couple uh, totes filled with these basic items that we kind of pulled from our houses, apartments, and garages, and truck those around to different locations to build with. So we got started with very minimal materials and equipment. So what is adaptive design compared to something else you might have heard that's been adapted? So adapted semantics here is adapted is just more modifies things to improve their use. So if you think of like a wheelchair that might not fit somebody properly, and you build something onto that already made device or modify that device, that's more adapted. Adaptive design, which is the nice specialty of what we really try to focus on, is developing something that's a customized solution and it's built from the ground up entirely to a user specification. And the best part of this, it's a very participative approach to providing equipment that people need. And on the side of the screen here, we have a picture with a child who's in one of our cardboard, very small child in a cardboard standing frame, an upright one, kind of comes up to his chest, and he has a cardboard tray with some toys in front of it and a few people around him that are sizing him in that device while he's playing and playing along with him as well. So why does a need like this exist? So what we found is there are some individuals obviously that have no insurance or a lack of an ability to get insurance. Others may have insurance, but their durable medical equipment they're looking for might not be covered, or there's a copay that is still too expensive, even if the device is covered. I've, for instance, myself have had items that great, the insurance is going to cover it, but I still have 1,000 to a few thousand or even a couple $100 left over that I have to come up with out of pocket. That may be out of reach for some families, right? Especially when you don't need just one adaptive tool. Typically, you need multiple. So those things add up over time if you're having to pay a little bit extra for each one of those. I have just a small survey study that was done here. It was conducted by the U.S. Department of Education and the National Institute on Disability and Rehab Research that says that found out that almost 40% of their respondents said that they had to pay for the assistive technology they used for themselves out of pocket themselves or with the help of a family member. So a lot of these things aren't being covered. And typically with medical items, the markup for those items are about 400%. So you'll see something that, might be offered as just a general product on the market for anyone, and it's a reasonable cost. And as soon as it's deemed medical or it's in a medical catalog, it's at least twice, if not 4 times, probably the cost. Other reasons, a lot of equipment is just, like I mentioned, too costly to purchase out of pocket when it's not covered. Many times people are going without. The insurance approval also takes too long a lot of times. We're dealing with this. And with children, this is the reason we're working with children so much. They need that equipment pretty quickly because children are growing, abilities are changing. needs are changing. So, having something covered, but it takes a year to get that item to the child, and by the time they get it, it doesn't even fit them anymore. It doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, that's kind of the world we live in these days. A lot of this is a bit bureaucratic and a lot of paperwork, and it just takes a long time. Great that we're able to, many of us, I assume in this meeting are located in the first world country in the U.S. in New York, and we have access to insurance and coverage, but a lot of times there's still a big void left behind. And then other times, individuals are just not aware that an adaptation could make certain activities in their life easier, more fulfilling. Like that old silly term, what you don't know, you don't know. So sometimes people just haven't even thought about that there may be a tool that could allow them and afford them that ability to do a certain task that they've never been able to do before, just because no one's brought up the idea of maybe building something from scratch. And then preconceived notions, which is the worst. We don't run into this here. Usually the people that are coming into us with requests already are thinking, more outside of the box and are willing to just look for outside help. But sometimes people just assume an individual or a child isn't able to do something because they've never seen them do it or they've never seen a solution out there that could assist them. So they just make that assumption that that person's never going to be able to do that. When really, as in that first slide had shown, our belief is that they may be able to do it. You haven't provided them with that right tool yet. So durable medical equipment, like I was mentioning prior to this, versus our approach with adaptive design. Don't get me wrong, we love that there's durable medical equipment out there that provides individuals more opportunity and is really nicely made and creates opportunity. Myself in a power wheelchair right now that cost about $40,000 and got quite a bit of insurance coverage on that gets me to work and around throughout my community every day. I rely on it heavily, so we're not saying there's no need for it. What we're saying is when it falls short sometimes, then this is a great solution that can come into the mix. So durable medical equipment and the process, a lot of times it must be medically necessary. If it's not, they're not going to cover it. There's also lots of paperwork. It's a time-consuming process, waiting on that equipment, waiting for a therapist to see you, waiting for a doctor to see you, getting everyone to write off on these things. Children, like I mentioned, outgrow. The items are very expensive. For instance, a power wheelchair like I'm sitting in, $40,000 to $50,000. And it's hard to modify a lot of times. It's made to, be sturdy, be held up to the elements and over time. So it's not always easiest to hack into and be like a flexible material like we had mentioned we like to use. Our approach with adaptive design creates your vision for yourself or your child. It's custom made, it's low cost, made out of low cost materials, keeping that price point down in the end. It's made on the spot with the user's involvement, which encourages others to think creatively and outside the box down the road and empowers them and their family. And it builds community when we have people in here working from all different mixes and different areas in life and experiences and bringing everyone together. We found is a very fun experience and a very collaborative community building approach. So our process when we go about working with an individual, usually I'll get a referral from a doctor or their case manager or them themselves reaching out saying they have either a specific need or want to try to achieve something, or they've seen a piece of equipment we've already built for somebody else that's maybe out on social media or their doctor or therapist saw and recommended, and they come to us. So they then go in my waiting list as we're working through lots of projects here. And eventually, as soon as we can get them in, we do an initial assessment with that user. We go through, find out what their goals, desires, needs are, and their interests. We learn about their personality, getting to know them, their abilities, and also their dimensions as we work with them in that initial assessment, usually with one of their clinicians or one of our volunteer clinicians. Throughout the process from there on out, we work with that individual and try to keep them in the loop as we develop and test solutions. Having them, give their feedback is crucial. And then as we go through that iterative process, it really starts to take shape, take form, and really grow personality in that device. And then we can further add more personality as we get, closer to the end, and add in things that make it unique to that individual and their interests or needs. And then also, this is a repetitive thing, so it's kind of a never-ending process. So as that individual uses that piece of equipment, maybe they take it home, they use it for a month, and it doesn't work quite as they had liked. The nice thing about that participative approach with the individual is they're more likely to not just give up on that piece of equipment. They're usually will get a call and say, "Hey, we like this, but this doesn't fit, or this is bugging them, or whatever it may be. Can we come back in and um, change this or add this to it?" And or I got a call the other day, and a family had a standing frame. They're like, "This is great. We're using it all the time. What if we added a PVC tube bridge over the top of the desk in front of the individual or the kiddo, where we could hang sensory items from, because we think that would be really fun for her and engage her more while she uses a piece of equipment." Love it. Again, thinking creatively, getting that mindset through the use of the device and through the creative building process. And then needs may change, or the child or individual grows out of that device. We're happy to take that device back in, or they can do whatever they would like with it. A lot of times we get them donated back when they're done using it, and then we work through what's next. Then what can we provide to you that will get you to that next goal you have. So now we have a few examples of the equipment we create here. For those of you that can see, just take a gander, and I will describe for those that may not be able to. On the left, we have a child sitting in front of a cardboard set of steps, pretty large steps, bigger than your average step, allowing her to climb up with the use of her arms, because this little girl did not have the use of her lower extremities, to get up to a countertop surface. It also has PVC tube rails that go up of it. Next to that, we have a little child in what we call our quiet chairs. So this little kiddo is in a cardboard chair that is kind of encompassing. All the sides go up to a little rooftop, and they can only see out the front. And it's got a bunch of colorful painting on it with flowers and a window and blue sky. And this allows them to more easily focus on things versus having too much sensory overload. And then in the far right, our workshop, we have our fabricator and another volunteer holding and assisting one of our participants as they're trying out a little rocker device made out of cardboard and colorfully decorated with polka dots and fun colors, and letting this child start pushing off of the ground and exploring movement for the first time on their own. So we do a lot of standing frames. This is a big request we get. We have Upstate Hospital and Golisano Children's Hospital here in Syracuse. Standing frames do take a long time for insurance to approve, and to get them their specific device. A lot of times they're very expensive. And sometimes they need one, a child might need one for in the home as well as at school, and insurance is only going to pay for one. So we get a lot of requests for these. We have one on the far left. This is one of our first initial kiddos who received one. He worked with us and his family coming up from about an hour away each build event, and getting to learn about him. Insurance wouldn't provide him a standing frame because he wasn't showing in therapy that he was able to use it, willing to use it. He just wanted nothing to do with the process and being up in a standing position and working on going from sitting to standing. And so they couldn't justify to the insurance that he would use this. It would be beneficial for him if they bought this very expensive piece of equipment. So they came to us, and so yeah, we can provide you a standing frame, but let's think even above that. What's a bigger goal? So yeah, standing, but why standing? What's going to encourage him to want to use this device versus just look at it as the device is similar that he was using in therapy and refusing to participate with. So we learned about the kiddo, learned he loved monster trucks, one specifically, El Toro Loco. So we're like, okay, cool, there's our end. Let's theme this thing after El Toro Loco's favorite monster truck. So in the picture, it shows this bright orange standing frame with flames on the side and some wheels, and it's got a dashboard with a wheel and an engine sticking out and a dash on the front. So this was a item that we put this working dashboard, and he had a 3D printed key that he could turn in, twist, and it would light up and make noise, and it was a lot of fun. And there's a small video to go with this after that hopefully will play all right. This that describes this family's perspective of going through, working with us and creating this. So they took this device home, and about a month later, I got an email from mom saying, "This is great. We can't get him out of it. We've got the opposite problem. He not only will use it, he wants to use it, he wants to be in it, and we have to like drag him out of it." So awesome, we hit the mark. There's a few others on here shown with very fun, playful paintings on them. There's another little girl in an upright standing frame that's purple and has a green alligator and lightning bug on it. And she's in our workshop looking at her parents standing in her standing frame for the first time. And then another little kiddo in a tilted forward prone stander that's got Minnie Mouse and polka dots and pink, and therapists are working with her, sizing her in that device. There's also a fabric strap going around her back, holding her onto that device. Other things we create, there's some seating positioning items. So do a lot of this too, custom seating. This is just a few examples. Again, a lot with pediatric. We'll work with any age. I just have a lot of examples that are pediatric. There's a little rocker over here that's really angled on the far left, made out of cardboard. There's another picture in the middle of what we call our corner chair, which is just a kind of a triangular, or excuse me, a diamond base with a small backboard made out of cardboard and a little pommel. A little girl is sitting in this, smiling at the camera, with that pommel in between her legs, holding her in position with a harness, a nice bright blue harness around her as well, holding her in, being able to sit independently upright on her own. Then there's another custom chair. All these are made out of cardboard, but are very colorful and fun. This child is sitting in her chair that's made to her size, as a tray in front of it with one of her toys in her home. And then two examples of more corner chairs that we've built in the past, very similar to the second photo. Just showing kind of that process of working with an individual. So we have a kiddo that's in an assessment with a very crude first approach to a rocking chair made out of cardboard. It's kind of a kidney bean shape on the sides with a slab down the middle that is his seat. So it's a backrest seat in the center that he's sitting on. And he's grinning and laughing and rocking in this device that's allowing him, again, to explore movement for the first time, cause and effect, pushing off of his legs. But this was much bigger than he needed. And mom, not necessarily the child, but mom wanted it more angular and kind of aggressive looking, kind of video game-ish for him. So there's also extra holes in the device where the backrest and seat might have gone before. And the reason for this, that are empty, those holes, is because we tried that initial angle with the backrest and seat, and it didn't work for him. He couldn't get the right approach to rocking. And so quickly on the fly, we just carved a few new holes based off of, positioning him a few different ways and seeing what worked. And again, flexible materials allowed us to change this really quickly and allow him to get to a position that was more comfortable and afforded him a greater ability to move himself in that device. So then we have traced on that angular, more aggressive profile to the sides of the chair, and then in a picture below that, the chair itself is cut out in that fun, aggressive kind of fighter pilot look. Next photos just show it painted with red sides, a blue interior, and purple yoga mat, and a harness installed. It's just a lot more. You never know it's out of cardboard. It looks like something that's plastic or wood, and custom to that kiddo's interest and what they wanted and how they wanted it to look. So going to try to play this. Hopefully it works all right. This is a video talking about the experience that families have had, in working with us. So not hearing it just from me, preach it here, but also hearing from an actual family that's gone through the process. Please let me know if you cannot hear this.
I'm not hearing it.
No. Okay. Bear with me. We're going to get this to work.
While you're while you're getting that to work, Connor, feel free to put any questions that you have in the Q&A box.
Yes, please.
And in the follow-up email, Connor, I will copy you on that note in case people want to reach out to you directly, so they don't need to scroll all the way through the presentation to find it. So let me know when you think you have it up and working here.
Anyone has a better understanding of how to get that sound to work, please feel free to speak up.
Did you check the box that says share your sound?
And that's what I'm looking for. I know I've used it before.
Why don't you pause the screen share, or why don't you stop the screen share?
Okay. Sorry, folks.
Okay. And then when you restart your screen share, there should be a box that says share my sound.
There it is. Thank you, Blaze. Saving the day here. Perfect.
Hey, I'm trying.
Alrighty. Get right back to it. Cool. All right. From our current slide here, let's go. Great. All right. Here we go.
We are the Miracles. This is Ellie. I'm Tether.
Is this better?
Brody.
It's a little.
We are one
it's a little low. Connor, yeah, it's coming through a little low. There you go.
For our son Brody. Brody has quadriplegic spastic cerebral palsy. So he has muscle tightness and weakness in all 4 limbs.
Reaching out to Adaptive Design, what were you looking to have possibly made for him? Any device in particular?
We didn't really know what to expect. You know, when you hear someone say they're going to build something out of cardboard, I think you don't know what it's going to look like. We had no idea, and we're like, this seems weird and crazy. So it was very interesting when we got here and kind of actually saw it. You know, we had no idea. And then we got here and we were kind of blown away.
Yeah, we need to tether it off to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I cut that
Push
slot
hard.
in it so we could do that.
Sweet.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Revving the engine.
Don't touch my dashboard, Dad.
Cool.
When we first got here, we were like, we're not sure how to do this stuff. We don't know. We're not engineers. We took part pretty much every step of the way, and they were pretty amazing. We've already told everybody we know about.
Yeah,
this
and
program.
I have the magazine, the A-Rise magazine, right in my office, so people ask about it. It helps that it has Brody's picture on it, but we have the standard, but we've seen the chairs and the things to help in the kitchen and just the different things that are really could benefit children so much to have some independence.
Pretty cool.
Go.
And you're on Monster Truck. That video, the child using that mentioned a tether in there. So as we went through that process, this iterative approach, we found out that the therapists were trying to have him engage one of his arms more, as he only wanted to use the opposite arm all the time. So we learned about those goals going through this and getting to know him and the family as well. So when we created his 3D printed key for the ignition, we were like, oh, okay, let's tether that off then to the side. So for him to be able to turn this device on and want to play with it and get it going, he has to engage that arm that he normally wouldn't. So trying to tick one of those boxes, in therapy goals. And sure enough, if he had an interest to want to go play, that solved that need pretty quickly. So anytime we can blur the lines, especially for kids, between play and therapy, we try to do that, because kids don't want to do therapy. Kids want to play, and that's how kids learn. Going to the next slide.
Are the Miracles.
One more video here. You got your name on it too. One of our other participants here.
Tiari. 7-year-old Tiari has been through a lot in the past few years.
First of all, she was hospitalized for having seizures. They basically put her in 2 medically induced comas. After the second one, they were able to get the seizures to stop.
Her mom, Tiara Tillman, and Grandma Tia Gilliam say that was only the beginning. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy at 8 months, she's faced tremendous challenges, but she's also broken down barriers. Already defying doctors' expectations in speech and mobility, she's now working towards an important goal.
We know one day she is going to walk. She's going to walk.
Part of getting there is strengthening the leg muscles, and part of that process involves using a stander.
From all the websites, you know, they have all this equipment for disabled children. That thing was over $4,000.
You could just put a piece, maybe 1.5 inches tall, right on top here.
And that's where the adaptive design team at Arise came in.
Telling Tiara, I said, you're not going to believe this, but I found this place in Syracuse that actually designs and creates all kinds of things for kids with disabilities. I said, and guess what? One of them is a stander.
Director Connor McGough says helping kids like Tiari is the program's mission, and they make the equipment using common household items and volunteer labor.
A lot of times people are coming to us because durable medical equipment that's needed by individuals with disabilities usually has such a high price tag behind it. And that's why they're not able to get the equipment they need.
Good and tall and beautiful? Yes! Oh, yeah.
In addition to adaptive design, Arise also provides a sense of community for families who participate. And Tia and Tiara are already paying it forward by donating a wheelchair to another child in need.
We had an extra one at home, and he needed one. So we basically connected with Dad through their Facebook, took pictures of the chair, and we came and we delivered it to them, and they sent us results.
Making sure that every child has the opportunity to thrive, just like Tiari.
We hope that people find out about adaptive design so that they have the opportunity like Tiari does.
For Spectrum
And
News,
say, thank you.
I'm Jack Arpey.
Nothing.
All right. So that was another child receiving their upright stander that was custom to her and very colorful and fun. And just the experience that that family went through. And again, that community aspect where they're in here working with us and they get to meet another family of another child that had a different disability, a different need, but learning that that one child, had a piece of equipment that, again, didn't fit them right. Device abandonment was sitting in a garage of theirs, and the other child needed it and it fit them miraculously, and so they donated it to the other family. And that's the kind of the special things that can happen in that process of keeping the end user and their network involved throughout this development of an adaptive device. So some of the other things, I'm going to keep cruising here because trying to keep this to an hour and we're coming up on it pretty quickly. But we also have delved into mobility devices. So we saw there's a huge need in our area, at least, for children who need a type of mobility device. A lot of times, children under 5, insurance does not typically like to pay for electric powered mobility devices. So children that can't push a wheelchair or a similar small device like a manual wheelchair are unfortunately left to be carried or pushed around their environment by a caregiver or family member, and not able to independently explore or engage in their surroundings, which is a huge part of learning and development at that early age. So what we've taken is Wild Thing toys, and I have some few pictures on here of a Power Wheels Wild Thing toy. It's almost like a zero-turn lawnmower with a big open front, 2 big wheels on the sides, a caster in the back that allows it to spin. It's kind of a circular design. And this device originally comes with 2 handles for zero effort turns. So it allows it to spin. If you put those handles on each side in different directions, if you push them both forward, it goes forward, back to go back with both. This one has a cardboard custom seat on it with a harness that we've made specific for a child and their dimensions. But this device also, a lot of times we found the children that use these can't do that big gross motor function of those handles that come with it to turn in and to drive it. So we've actually started modifying them with our own electronics to make them work with a joystick or other input device that works for that unique user. So it will translate down the road better also for them to learn how to use something that will be similar to what they'll use in a power chair down the road. So we've had quite a few of these donated, luckily. Fisher-Price donated about 64 of these Power Wheels toys to us after kind of hearing about what we're doing. They unfortunately don't manufacture these anymore, so we're kind of left with those 64, and then we're going to be trying to build out our own custom unique from the ground up device as a solution after we're done with these. But fortunately, now we do have these at a low cost, and for about $250 to $300, we're able to add parts and pieces in to make them function almost like a little power wheelchair. Very smooth. We're lucky we have great engineer volunteers that have really helped us develop this piece of equipment. Also shown on the slide is a PVC tube chair. This was another random custom request for a child that wanted to be with their family down by the lake, didn't have a chair they could go in the sand or in the water, and needed to be reclined. There's beach wheelchairs out there. None of them are able to be reclined. They all are at a 90-degree upright position. So even if you can afford to pay for it, those devices didn't even meet that child's need. So we worked with the family, got the size, got the idea of what they needed specifically and their price point, and we built this device. And instead of big inflatable expensive tires that are about $300 to $400 a piece, we made it with lawnmower tractor tires for like your small lawnmower, and they cost about $40 and didn't even weigh that much more. And this child is reclined in the lake in their special custom PVC tube chair with a red fabric waterproof seating structure in it. So I've got one more video here to show the mobility device approach.
Arise Adaptive Design is a nonprofit organization that identifies barriers and builds low-cost adaptive equipment, enabling those we work with the opportunity to flourish in all areas of life. For Grant, the barrier was mobility related. He's too small for a wheelchair, so his mom and dad decided to challenge the Arise Adaptive Design team to come up with something that he could use to explore his world more independently.
Ready? Want to see it? 1, 2, 3.
Whoa! The adaptive design team decided a modified and software-enhanced Wild Thing, a children's toy from Fisher-Price, would fit the bill. Work started as soon as the Wild Thing arrived. While the Wild Thing project is pretty exciting, not all Arise adaptive design devices are so cutting edge. Most design products fulfill a specific need for a person with a disability with more simple and affordable materials. A few weeks into his new ride, Grant is now totally mobile.
As Grant's parents, the Wild Thing has brought us a lot of joy, and getting to see Grant be able to explore and have freedom, which he didn't have before.
So this is the first time that he get the taste of what the independence feels like.
You can get more information about Arise Adaptive Design at ariseinc.org.
Connor,
So
that's really cool. And I believe that was voiced by Bill, wasn't it?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Didn't Bill just voice that video?
He did. That was our Bill, our marketing guy here at Arise. You're right.
Yeah. Hey, us comms people, we've got to shout each other out.
Absolutely.
We do only unfortunately have a few minutes, and
No worries.
Joyce is and we have a question from Joyce in the Q&A that says, do you only work with families in the Syracuse area? And one of the questions that was kind of bouncing around in my head is, how far does this program reach? So Joyce, you and I are kindred spirits in the thinking there.
Yes, something I didn't go over. Yeah, we are not just confined to the Syracuse area. We work with anyone that's willing to make the trip into us if it needs a one-on-one assessment. Sometimes it's assistive technology that's like a 3D printed splint item like that, which we can probably get some information from them virtually and ship that item out to them, and they just have them pay for the shipping. And usually these things are lightweight and small. But yeah, we've worked with folks from Watertown, Rochester, Buffalo area, Utica. There is another adaptive design program, not really affiliated with us, but doing very similar work in the Hudson Valley. There's also another one in New York City, the Adaptive Design Association, which is the program that's been doing this since the mid 80s under Alex Truesdell, who got us up and running and taught us to do the work that we're doing now. There's also a Go Baby Go program that has chapters in other cities, other areas for mobility related requests. That's what I have up on the screen right now. And it's not always as complicated as what we build for our mobility equipment. It can just be putting a switch on a power wheel, so a kid, instead of having to use their feet to drive it, can just hit a button. So it can be fairly simple as well. And then there's Makers Making Change chapters. We are the one for Central New York. This is a bigger, larger organization of many chapters across the US and across Canada. So if you have an interest in assistive technology, low-cost assistive tech, 3D printed materials, electronics, that's kind of the go-to. If they request it around here, that comes to us. And then if you're closer to another chapter, they'll direct you to that program. But yeah, we're willing to work with anyone, long story short, kind of anywhere around the New York area that is willing to make the drive or provide us with that information we need to build them their specific piece of equipment.
Okay, great. And best way to get in touch with you is either via email or phone, and your contact info I know is on the presentation, and I will include I'll include that as well in the
Wonderful.
Follow-up email here. I know we have a question here that I just need to find.
Yep. And again, arising.org or adaptive design at arising.org. Reach me through email.
Yeah. Yeah, so Maria's talking about how, many instrument makers, Maria is one of our teammates here at Nile. And yeah, and it's great to see. And we just all need to be working together to keep moving that needle of accessibility. So
yeah, and we're
Maria,
encouraging, this can start as a small volunteer effort. We're trying to encourage other communities to do something similar. So there's a request of, can you work with anyone outside of Syracuse? Yeah, we can, but we also really want to encourage other communities to try to take up this approach. It's something really fun, community-based, grassroots, that really any community can start themselves and work with their local makers or local clinicians and families, and just start hacking away, building. And we're happy to collaborate with anyone that might want to start doing something like that, and we can provide information and training and things of that sort as well.
Fantastic. We do have to leave it there. Connor, thank you so much for doing this. This was an awesome presentation that I did not get a chance to see at the Nile conference last year. And thanks to Nicole on our team here, and along with the ASL interpreter and CART for making this fully accessible. Slides, recording, all that stuff will be available later today. I will get that out to everyone who registered. So with that, thank you all very much, and keep an eye on your inbox for our December webinar. And with that, take care and be well.
Thank you.